Hello, RDs and RDs to be. Welcome to the RD Exam Ready podcast. I'm Zach Caseberg, your tutor, your coach, your guide along the path to passing the RD exam. My biggest passion is to help RDs and RDs to be just like you to know how to effectively pass the CDR exam. If that sounds like you, then hey, you are in the right place. I want to thank the great RDs to be that joined us for our recent YouTube live just about 2 weeks back, where we reviewed enteral and total parenteral nutrition formulas. We did some PQ, and I also got this great compliment from a student who said that the questions I wrote that night were the closest thing they had seen to the actual exam. And that type of compliment actually means the world to me because that's what I'm trying to do is challenge you and make you better. If you didn't join us for that live, remember, you can go to the RD Exam Ready YouTube channel. You can rewatch those just underneath that live tab. I'm thinking we're going to do another live this week. I'm thinking we're going to do on the 18th of February, so February 18th of 2026. We'll be doing another live that night at 7 o'clock Central Time, and I'm thinking we're just going to do some basic practice questions that night, no big specific topics, so go to the RD Exam Ready YouTube page, keep a lookout for my socials, and I'll announce something that we're going to do something that night from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock Central Time. Now, many of you probably became aware that there's going to be some new CDR outline changes for the exam in 2027. So, if you're going to pass your exam here in 2026, that's great. But if you do see yourself taking this in 2027, you'll definitely be seeing there's going to be a little change in content. It's not something so dramatic, but it is a huge emphasis on community nutrition, which I think that's good. I'll be doing some content about that in the future, but for now, I wanted us to look at community nutrition just a little bit more. And specifically, I wanted to talk about community nutrition programs. These programs are always so great to know, but I find it helpful to get some clarity on the specifics of each one of them. Specific on the outline, things that were mentioned were federally funded state community run programs like SNAP, SNAP Ed, Meals on Wheels, WIC, Breakfast Program, Lunch Program, CACFP, and the Older Americans Act. I'm going to pepper in just a few other programs that we should be familiar with, but if you feel like today you just want to focus on those major guys, please do so. Now, these should be nice and familiar to you, but let's get more familiar. Let's get more prepared for our exam day by reviewing these programs together. I think the best way to discuss them is to organize it. Many, but not all of us, tend to be a bit type A, so we want this organization, this information, nice and organized and aligned in our minds. And I'm going to give you some tips today for knowing each of these programs. Know the name of it, know what is provided by it, who it is provided to, and things they need to be eligible, or just some little extra facts here. Eligibility for many of these programs is based on household income. Federally, there's a number that I think you should just keep in your mind, which is the usual federal cutoff for receiving these nutrition programs. Families with a gross monthly income that is at or below 130% of the poverty level will generally qualify for many of these types of benefits. We're going to start actually, though, with our older population here because we always tend to forget about them first. So, we're going to talk about the Older Americans Act, or OAA. This is probably one that you don't study as much unless you're working with this type of population. The Older Americans Act, it supports a wide range of health and health-related social services for older Americans defined as age 60 years or older. What this OAA does is it helps to help, or it funds certain services like personal care, chore services, transportation services, congregate nutrition services like meals served in a congregate facility or home delivered services, family care, caregiver support, long-term outreach, things like that. It's all meant to help as much as it can to support the older Americans that are 60 years or older. Specific to us as RDs is what is stated in Title 3 of this program. And these are grants that go to support nutrition programs. These are meals that are provided to these older Americans that are supposed to be offered at least 5 days a week, but sometimes it's seven. The meal itself should supply about one third of the dietary reference intakes, or DRIs, per meal. And it should be ensured that it adheres to the dietary guidelines for Americans and should consider things like local cultural preferences. Congregate meal programs is one piece of this. Congregate meal programs are selected sites like a community center, a senior center, a church, a school, where older adults can go to sit down and have their meals. For people that can't travel or are largely confined to home, there's a home delivered program to those that are homebound permanently or temporarily. This home delivery program is often known as Meals on Wheels. And I want to hone in on Meals on Wheels just a little bit more here, specifically, in knowing that what is kind of going on here. The benefits of these different programs, before I talk about Meals on Wheels, is that the benefits of like congregate meal programs is that, if they can't prepare a meal for themselves, they have ability to feed themselves. It mentioned that a benefit of Meals on Wheels, for instance, is that you do have someone bringing you a meal, they're checking up on you, and it's kind of like a mini wellness check every time. But one downside that was mentioned is that since it's Meals on Wheels and it's home delivered, a lot of the times the participants may miss out on that social aspect that they could get from a congregate meal program. And I could see that ending up in a question about how someone is really feeling socially isolated, what would be the best option for them. So I have a little question about that today, and I thought that'd be a good piece to mention. Remember, for these nutrition programs, the eligibility is people who are 60 years or older. Also, the spouse of any age that is 60 years of older would also qualify. So, if a 60-year-old is married to a 30-year-old, the 30-year-old would then qualify for those benefits. Disabled persons under 60 who also reside in housing facilities for congregate meal programs and the nutrition service volunteers. The next program we're going to talk about for our older Americans is the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. What does it provide? Coupons to be exchanged at the farmers market for foods such as fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, honey, and fresh cut herbs. These will be used at a farmers market or a roadside stands or a CSA program. For eligibility, it's meant to be focused on lower income seniors who are, again, at least 60 years old. And for this cutoff, it said that it would be below 185th percent of the federal poverty guidelines. So sometimes we're saying 130, but for this senior farmers market, it would be 185th percent of the poverty line or below. For our next one, we're going to get into just some of the different programs that are out there to serve just in general low income Americans. The next one we're going to talk about is TANF, which is the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. TANF is meant to provide services that would include cash assistance for basic things like food, clothing, housing, transitional services like a GED prep course, vocational training for families that are trying to get a job, and also screening for things like mental health, substance abuse, or domestic violence type of screening would also be included here. Most of these participants, if you qualify for TNANF, you also qualify for SNAP benefits. So usually you're going to get those too. This is going to go ahead and serve someone who is pregnant or has children under 19 years old that lives with them. Pregnant woman and her husband, if he lives with her, may also qualify if they don't have any other children. And those that qualify usually are qualifying things for Medicaid level services as well. So, really, it's giving kind of those basic things that a family would need to get themselves back on their feet. Excuse me. The next one is the Commodity Supplemental Food Program. The Commodity Supplemental Food Program provides food and administrative funds to states. What it usually provides in food would be like food packages, and these packages would be things like canned items, peanut butter, rice, grain, evaporated milk. These types of things would be included with these commodity foods. It's going to serve those who are at or below 150% of the poverty level. And it's really meant to serve pregnant and breastfeeding women, new mothers up to 1 year postpartum, infants and children up to the age of 6, and older adults who are at least 60 years old. Obviously, as you can see, it can serve a good amount number of people, but it's meant to kind of serve lower income families. One note I would make here, we haven't talked about it yet, but you cannot do WIC and the CSFP at the same time. So it's kind of a one or the other when it goes to this. So either you would be in WIC or you would be in the commodity food program here. The next one is the Food Distribution on Indian Reservations program, and this provides food and, once again, administrative funds to Indian tribal organizations. It's meant to serve low income households, including older adults who are living on Indian reservations or the areas near. It does have a specific poverty cutoff per state, but it seems to be quite close to around 130% of the poverty level, which is what we're typically seeing for these federal programs. Another one would be the Emergency Food Assistance Program. This is providing commodity foods to areas for emergencies, like an emergency shelter, food banks, soup kitchens, food pantries. And what it's doing is it's providing those commodity foods from the USDA to these distributing agencies. Much of the time, these will be prepackaged boxes of mixed fresh produce items. There's certain canned goods that could be included, dairy products, meat. That's what's kind of being provided through the emergency food assistance program. But just know who it's meant to serve: the food banks, the soup kitchens, those that are distributing food to other people that need it. Another one we should be familiar with: the Expanded Food and Nutrition Education Program. This is a big, wide education program. It's meant to serve adults and youth to help them to acquire the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and behavior changes to have nutritionally sound diets. It's also meant to help contribute to personal development, to help with improvement of the total family diet and nutrition well being. They will participate in a series of lessons about diet, about nutritional well being, and really just learn about those practical skills they need to shop, cook for themselves, do things like that. So basically, this one is just the large nutrition education program that's largely meant to serve low income or minority audiences. Now, let's talk SNAP here. SNAP is known as an entitlement program, and we haven't talked about entitlement too much, but remember, entitlement program just means that if you qualify, you do receive the benefits. So SNAP is a entitlement program, meaning if I qualify for my income, I get it. SNAP provides food benefits to families in the form of money or an EBT card. EBT, by the way, stands for Electronic Benefits Transfer Card. Start with this, and then let's know who it serves. Essentially, it's a card with money on it that allows a family to buy certain goods in a grocery store. It doesn't have to be just a grocery store, but really any retail store. Who it's meant to help is those who serve low income families. So it's helping those low income families that are at or below 130% of the poverty level. One thing I would also add here is what you can buy with SNAP. What can families buy with SNAP? Do not worry about knowing each thing specifically, not at all. Just make sure you understand the types of foods that we're mentioning. What can I buy with SNAP? Well, fruits, veggies, meat, poultry, fish, dairy, grains, snack foods, soda, seeds, and plants for gardening. These are all things I can buy with SNAP benefits. Things I cannot buy, one specific thing, is foods that are hot at point of sale. You're not supposed to be able to buy hot foods like hot soup, hot sandwiches, hot pizza. Those are not supposed to be items that I should be able to buy with SNAP benefits. I also can't use it for alcohol, tobacco, THC or CBD beverages, vitamins or supplements, live animals, pet food, cleaning, or hygiene products as well. I did find it interesting too that when they look at to see if a facility can offer SNAP benefits, they'll look at how much of their food is offered as fresh food or these hot prepared foods. So you can use some of your SNAP benefits for certain types of foods, but what they'll do is they'll look at a retailer and they'll look and see, well, how much of your foods are you preparing that are just like hot foods? Like certain gas stations, if they just give out hot foods, well, that's not really maybe going to be something that is SNAP qualifying for them. One other piece of SNAP is also knowing what SNAP Ed is. SNAP Ed is an educational program to educate SNAP clients to teach them how to properly cook and shop, prepare healthy meals, and lead physically active lives. The goal is to get those SNAP eligible participants to adhere closer to the dietary guidelines for Americans there. SNAP's a big one, it really is. The next one, though not as big but still important, is the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, the FFVP. And what this does is it gives reimbursements to certain facilities that serve fresh fruit, and fresh vegetables free to children all over the country. And it serves schools who are participating in serving fresh fruits and vegetables to children. Their eligibility is based on how many students get free or reduced meals at the school, as well as the total number of enrolled children. And it's meant to help serve those fresh fruits and vegetables outside of the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program. So let's say you give apples as a snack throughout the day, that might be something that would qualify for the FFVP in this case. Now we're going to expand this more. Let's talk about for pregnant women who can really get benefits here. And let's talk WIC. Now, WIC is a non entitlement program. That's a very important piece to know here. WIC provides vouchers for specific foods, and it gives also usually it's this WIC card. It's like an EBT card again that can be used for foods. And also, WIC is going to provide things like nutrition education, referrals to healthcare facilities, and also will give formula to those who do not fully breastfeed. Now, WIC is going to serve certain participants here, and this is really important. Pregnant women, breastfeeding up to 1 year old, non breastfeeding postpartum women with a 6 month cutoff, children up to 5 years old, and there is a financial eligibility. 185% or below the poverty line would be those that qualify for WIC services. So let's say that again, pregnant women can get WIC. If you're breastfeeding up to the baby is 1 years old, then you would get WIC benefits yourself. If you're not breastfeeding, but you're formula feeding, you could receive benefits up to 6 months postpartum. And the children you have and your infants, they would also get WIC benefits until they reach 5 years old. Nutrition risk is also considered for WIC eligibility. It's determined by a health professional, and it would look at things like medical risk, such as anemia, underweight status. It could look at diet risk, like a history of inadequate intake, or certain conditions you may have, like alcoholism, drug addiction, homelessness, migrancy. These are also things that can be considered in someone's eligibility for risk. For WIC foods, you could spend your WIC benefits on things like infant cereal, iron fortified cereals, juice, eggs, milk, cheese, peanut butter, beans, peas, fish. We could also do soy based beverages, tofu, fruits, veggies, baby foods, and whole grain products. There's another association here, which is the WIC Farmers Market Nutrition Program, and that provides farmers market coupons to purchase items such as fresh fruits, vegetables, and herbs. Eligibility will be just the same as WIC with just a small stipulation. Infants, if let's say mom wants to get fresh fruits and vegetables and has an infant, the infant must be above 4 months old in order for the infant to qualify for these benefits. So I found that to be an interesting piece. And there's also a nutrition educational component that is included with WIC as well, kind of a WIC ed part. Let's talk about now about the National School Lunch Program. The National School Lunch Program provides nutritionally balanced, low cost, or free lunches to children each day in public and nonprofit private schools. This would also include residential childcare facilities or facilities that just help serve children. These facilities will get cash subsidies, so cash reimbursements, for serving USDA foods and meals. They must meet federal meal pattern requirements in order for a facility to qualify, and they must offer free or reduced meals to certain children. Also, snacks can be offered for reimbursement in after school programs. The children themselves that can go ahead and qualify for these benefits would be low income. So the cutoffs go like this. A child that is between 130 to 185% of the poverty line could get reduced price meals. So if a child's family is between 130 to 185th% of the poverty level for income, then they could receive a reduced price meals. If they are at or below 130% of those poverty income guidelines, then they could get free meals. Okay, so just make sure you know those two breakdowns. The meals themselves, they should meet one third of the DRIs for calories, protein, calcium, iron, vitamin A, and vitamin C. They also must stay below the certain sodium and saturated fat cutoffs as well. Associated with the National School Lunch Program is the National School Breakfast Program. Same as the National School Lunch Program in many ways. The meal patterns differ slightly, though. The meals must meet one fourth of the DRI for calcium, protein, calories, iron, vitamin A, and vitamin C. If I didn't mention iron there, that one too. It also must stay under certain sodium and saturated fat thresholds. The next one that is going to be used for kids is the Summer Food Service Program. And I've also seen on the USDA this might be called SUN now, so maybe look into that too. What the Summer Food Service Program provides is reimbursement to facilities that serve meals during the summer. These meals need to meet the federal nutrition guidelines and also meet one third of the DRI for all those nutrients that we mentioned before. So this is just going to be for those kids that need to get meals during the summertime. And it's going to serve those low income children to make sure that they get those nutritious meals throughout the summer, as lunch is so important for that. The Special Milk Program provides milk to children in schools, childcare, campuses that do not participate in the federal child meal service programs. So it provides reimbursements for serving milk, and also schools that are in the National School Lunch Program may also qualify for the Special Milk Program. There's also certain stipulations in the Special Milk Program where a child who is low income may qualify for free milk instead of having to pay for it too. The next one will be Head Start. Head Start. Head Start is a social readiness program for young children in low income households. It provides things like a comprehensive child development program from birth to age 5. This will also help pregnant women and families. It can give health education on nutrition and social services and just help to refer families to certain services they may need. There is also a program called Early Head Start, and Early Head Start is for children up to 3 years old, which is going to be more targeted towards very early childhood development. Next program is the CACFP. CACFP provides reimbursement for nutritious meals and snacks that are in facilities. Also, it can give commodity foods instead of cash subsidies if they would wish. The CACFP is meant to serve low income families, and here's who it's going to serve because I always find this eligibility very interesting. This would be children in daycare or childcare facilities up to 12 years old, also those who are functionally disabled adults who are in daycares. Eligibility is actually the same as national school lunch programs. So, children in households at income at or below 130% of the poverty line would get free meals, and those who are at 130 to 185% would get reduced price meals. This would also help out some areas who are after school programs or emergency shelters for low income children. Also, to add into this eligibility, adults who are over 60 years old who are enrolled in adult daycares could also qualify for this program, which I find just so interesting there too. All right. Very good, everyone. So let's go ahead and let's break into our practice questions now that we're nice and familiar with all these programs. Number one, a 61-year-old woman who is low income reports loneliness while eating meals since her husband passed. The dietitian should help the patient apply for A, home delivered meal programs, B, SNAP, C. Emergency food assistance program, or D. Congregate meal programs. A 61-year-old woman who is low income reports loneliness while eating at mealtimes since her husband has passed. The dietitian should help the patient apply for A. Home delivered food programs, SNAP for B, C is emergency food assistance program, or D. Congregate meal programs. So I'm going to use process of elimination to see what's going to be my best fit. For A, home delivered meal programs. I'm going to leave a little question mark and come back to this one. I don't think it's a terrible option, but I want to see my other choices. B, SNAP. Well, SNAP is going to do what for her? It's going to help her to buy more food, but it's going to help the low income, but I don't think it's going to help this loneliness piece. I don't think SNAP's going to be my best fit, and I'm going to get rid of B. C, Emergency Food Assistance Program. The Emergency Food Assistance Program, again, this is going to be for people in an emergent situation. She does not sound like she is in an emergent situation. I would get rid of C at this point. D, Congregate Meal Program. Now, I think this would be a great fit for her because she's reporting loneliness in meals, and this would help with the social aspect. If I was stuck between A, home delivered programs, and D, congregate meal programs, I would say D is our best fit because she's having this loneliness component, and this would help for her socialization. Number two, a 26-year-old woman who is 6 months postpartum has an infant, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old, and her 30-year-old partner in the home. Who would qualify for WIC benefits? We have a 26-year-old woman who is 6 months postpartum. She has an infant, a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, and her 30-year-old partner. Who would qualify for WIC benefits? A, the mother, infant, and 6-year-old. B, the mother, infant, and 4-year-old. C, the mother, infant, and her partner. D, the partner, 4-year-old, and the 6-year-old. So, automatically, what I would think of is who qualifies for WIC in this situation. We remember it was going to be pregnant, breastfeeding women up to 6 months. It doesn't say if she's breastfeeding, but I think we could include her in here as well. You have to be less than 5 years old in order to qualify as well. So, let's take a look at these answers once again. For A, the mother, infant, and 6-year-old. I don't think that's going to be a good answer because the 6-year-old is too old to get WIC benefits. I would get rid of A. B, the infant, the mother, and the 4-year-old. I think this would be a good answer, assuming the mother is breastfeeding. I'm not quite sure, but I would think this would be a good fit. C, the mother, infant, and partner. Well, I don't think this is a good fit because the partner themselves is 30 years old. I don't think they would be qualifying for WIC. And D, the partner, 4-year-old, and the 6-year-old, definitely not going to be my best answer because the 6-year-old and the partner would not qualify for WIC benefits. For number two, I would say our best answer is going to be answer B. The mother, the infant, and the 4-year-old would all qualify for WIC benefits. Number three, which of the following is true regarding SNAP benefits? A, they are non entitlement programs. B, SNAP benefits can buy fruits, vegetables, and hot items prepared in the store. C, SNAP eligibility is for families at or below 130% of the poverty level. Or D, everyone qualifies for SNAP regardless of income. Which of the following is true regarding SNAP benefits? Okay, let's break these up. For A, they are non entitlement programs. SNAP was one of the entitlement programs, so I don't think A is a good fit because I'm looking for the true statement. Let's get rid of A. B. SNAP benefits can buy fruits, vegetables, and hot items prepared in the store. Well, I know that it can buy fruits and veggies, but the hot items is an odd one. I don't think that'll be a good fit, and maybe I would just put a question mark by it or rule it out. C. SNAP eligibility is for families at or below 130% of the poverty level. This seems like a good answer for this one, and I would put a check mark by it. Or D. Everyone qualifies for SNAP regardless of income. We know this isn't true. Not everyone qualifies for SNAP. I would rule out answer D. That's going to wrap up today's lesson, students. I hope you watched, listened, learned, and enjoyed today's show. Remember that passing this exam is a journey and we all need assistance along the way. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Tell other studying students, rate, review, subscribe, help spread the word. Join us for any upcoming YouTube lives, like we'll have one on February 18th of 2026. And remember, as always, happy studying to you, RD to be.